Oh, hey y'all. Okay, so I was not able to go back to sleep, but I put some lipstick on because I had to film this and I felt like putting some lipstick on. Okay, so I wrote a little manifesto. Oh, 22 on the timer. That was cool. And 23. I wrote a little manifesto about what it is that I am trying to manifest, right? What is it that my heart longs to manifest? So I'm just going to read it to y'all. There's 7 things that I'm about right now, and honestly, I don't think I don't think my soul will let me rest until I get this stuff in motion, and actually until I accomplish these goals. And these are big, big, huge, audacious goals that sometimes I'm like, wow, how is it that this girl is, you know, gonna go save the world like this? Like, how is this 5'2" person gonna do this? One person. Well, the truth is, I may be small in stature, but my spirit is big. I'm talking like bigger than BDE energy. It is big spirit energy. So we're going to do this, right? And I'm not doing it alone. I'm sharing this because I'm hoping that something that I say inspires you, motivates you, and gets you to kind of lock in to your power and your own ability to be able to create the world that we deserve. We really should have. Okay. All right. So, what is it that I want to manifest? Number 1, complete liberation of humanity, starting with our mental imprisonment. Okay. So, what I mean by that, we have been taught, and it has been reinforced over and over and over again to the point that we don't even question it, but we have been taught that we are powerless, and the reality is, no, we are powerful. We are so powerful. We are more powerful than we realize. And it is only in our brainwashing that we are powerless as individuals, just as little old you and little old me. It's in the brainwashing that we are powerless, that we've actually just handed over our power and not without questioning it, because it's become so normalized, right? It's become so normalized. So yes, number 1, complete liberation of humanity, starting with our own mental imprisonment, reclaiming our power. Number 2, the ability for each individual to live wholly as themselves without judgment or fear. Ooh, can you imagine that? Can you imagine how amazing it would be for you, for me, for each person on this planet to be able to just be themselves without the conditioning, without the expectations, the you get to be who you really are without fear that, like, for example, if who you really are is an artist, but the mental imprisonment you have is, artists starve, so I have to do something practical. I'm just using this as an example. Like, that is a fear matrix. That is that is keeping your authentic self away, right? Obviously, the part where you reclaim your power is that, you realize that you have to be complacent in order for this system to work, right? But yeah, that's what I want. I want everybody to be able to be holy and as authentic as they truly are, that would be powerful. That people would be creating amazing things. People would be leaning into what they're really passionate about. People wouldn't be depressed and anxious because what they do is feeding them, and there's nothing that's serving as a punishment against that. Punishment either being the withholding of something, right? I'm going to withhold money or love or prestige or whatever it is that people are seeking and desiring. So that's number 2, the ability for each individual to live wholly as themselves, without judgment, without fear. Number 3, the eradication of poverty, injustices, and systems of oppression. I think we've been, fighting a lot because it's what we know, each other, right? Like it's easier. It is easier to target another human being and say, yeah, you're the problem. But we're all the problem. If please see earlier statement, right? When we give up our power, when we are complacent to what is happening, we're all part of the problem. But the solution, the revolution is not it's not specifically in fighting each other, because that's still us operating within the false matrix, right? Like that the other person like is so different, so it's so not you, it's a rejection of you, right? Like what am I trying to say? We need to go after the systems. We need to go after the systems of oppression. We need to go after the structures that actually keep these imbalances in place. And actually, when people start to learn that it's a system that doesn't work, it gets easier to get behind, because it no longer feels like a personal attack. You're not attacking me because of my race or my gender, or, because like aspects of my identity align with the power structure. And as a result, yes, there are privileges and benefits that individuals get. But then it becomes tricky because we're still locked into our ego minds, right? And our ego is so gets butt hurt, right? Like it gets hurt about things where it feels attacked. And so when you start going after the like individuals, that becomes a barrier for more resistance. But I think if people are willing to avail themselves, to educate themselves, they can learn that the systems that exist really, for the most part, have caused harm to everybody. I'm not talking about a few individuals. I'm talking about en masse, right? Like everybody loses. Let's look at patriarchy as an example. What have we? I'm gonna just talk about it from the angle of what it's done to men and how it's actually hurt men. We have generations of men that were brainwashed into thinking that they were supposed to be stoic, emotionless, right? Like just not that wasn't part of their identity. Do you know what happens when you don't allow a natural, healthy release of things that don't no longer serve? Stagnation. And what happens in stagnant waters, or, you know, anything that's stagnant for too long? It gets gross, right? And overgrowth. It gets fungus. It gets, whatever. Like, it stinks. And so this is part of what's happened to men, right? Unfortunately, the pain that patriarchy has caused men is they haven't been able to have the full range of experiences, of emotions. They've lost out on the depths of love at times. 11:11 when I said that. So they've been hurt just as much. Well, I can't say just as much, but they've been hurt as well by systems of patriarchy that essentially say this is the very narrow sliver that you can operate in because you have this particular genitalia. That's powerful. Whew, okay, that brings me to number 4, restoration of balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the light and the dark. And I don't mean that as like, masculine and feminine are light and dark. I'm just talking about these are definitely 2 areas where the imbalance is. It's become a cancer, right? Like, oh my goodness, such an overgrowth of something has created such an imbalance in the system, and we need to restore that balance. And part of that is the rise of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Everybody has both energies. Similarly, we all have light and we all have darkness. None of us are only one thing. None of us. And so, but what's happened is there's just been imbalances. There's been too much darkness in the world, and there's been too much toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, which means that they are operating in extreme polarizations as opposed to a healthy balance where the gem or the jewel or the crux of that energy, so to speak, can shine and really be at its brightest, right? Like we don't allow for that in our, that's not what's happening in our current society. So number 4 is restoring the balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine and the light and the dark. Number 5, the elevation of human consciousness to a vibration of love. So in one of my videos, and hopefully we'll link it somewhere, I talk about the vibration that we are spiritual beings having a human experience in a vibrational world. Everything vibrates. It's a frequency, right? Everything. And what happens is that, yes, there's individual consciousness. A lot of people know about that. People will work on their individual consciousness, let's say through therapy or some kind of spiritual healing or, whatever it is that they do, whatever work people do on themselves. Like that is typically about the elevation of the individual consciousness. But those individual consciousness actually feed into the collective conscious, the human consciousness. There's that shared element, that shared consciousness that we all have. Over, the millennia, human consciousness has been evolving, right? Like, if you think about how barbaric and more divisive, more tribalistic we were, like at the inception of humanity and Middle Ages and all of that, like if you think about those eras, that consciousness was a lower, denser vibration, probably more, of like anger or greed or some lower vibrating frequency. Love is a very powerful frequency. There's frequencies that are even higher than love. Enlightenment, peace, those are even higher. But love is like a very powerful frequency. It typically is at 500 something hertz. Like, science is now starting to catch up with the power of the electromagnetic field of the heart. Anyway, my point in sharing this is that we are better than we were in terms of human consciousness, believe it or not. I know it doesn't feel like it on a lot of days, but we actually are. We're more elevated than we were in the past as a human race. Thank you to each generation, because every generation has done better than the previous. So let's all stop the nonsense about criticizing each generation, because each generation, becomes like the next level of refinement. So everybody serves their purpose, and it's all beautiful. So what I want us to do is elevate our human consciousness, the collective one, to get to a place where we are vibrating at the vibration of love or above. And yeah, instead of where we are right now, which is, I would say, I'm not quite sure where we are. It's above anger. It's, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, but I do know we're not at love, but we can get there. Next one, number 6. What do I long to manifest? World peace and harmony. I think as we liberate ourselves, especially our mental imprisonment, as we allow ourselves and each other to be wholly and authentically themselves, as we focus on dismantling systems that really hurt all of us, as we start to reclaim and rebalance the energies within us, right? Masculine, feminine, light, dark, and good, whatever. Maybe not, maybe I won't say good, bad, because that's not the right terminology. It's not the right sentiment, but balance is important. We're human. Everything in this earth, everything in our, like the seasons, the ebb and flow of the tides, the way our heart beats, it's expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. Like, if our heart was just expanded, or if it was only contracted, we'd die, right? If it was that extreme, we'd die. And that's what, world peace and harmony. Wait a minute, where am I now? I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Whew, it is 4:40 in the morning. All right, let me get back to it. Sorry. I totally lost my train of thought. World peace and harmony. Okay. Why am I talking about harmony specifically? It's because it allows each individual note to be itself, and in the recognition that in being itself and combining, like allowing the other notes to be themselves, other instruments to be themselves, other frequencies to be themselves, that there is like something beautiful that gets created that would not have existed just by the individual note alone. That's harmony, right? I don't want people to be united in a way that you have to bleed out into nothingness, right? Like you can't be you. I want there to be harmony in this world where each person gets to be who they are and respected for that, and shows respect for where other people are. There's value in each individual note for the collective. There's value in each one of us for the collective. That's number 6. And number 7, as you'll hear me say often, what I long to manifest is the highest and greatest good for all, harm to none. 2222 on the clock as I say that. I believe that there is a world that's possible where it is possible for everybody to thrive. For everybody to thrive. Just because we haven't seen it yet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Who was it? Einstein that said, the mind that created the problem is not the mind that's going to create the solution, something like that. Well, as we liberate our minds, as we start to shift our thinking, we will start to find, as we sit with the question, sit with the question of what would it look like to have a world where everyone thrives. Just even dropping that question into your spirit. Even putting it out as an ask, right? Because that is one of the universal laws. Ask and you shall receive. Okay, spirit, God, universe, source, Allah, whatever you call your deity, or, my higher self, show me, right? Show me what it looks like, what it feels like to live in a world where everyone thrives, where the highest and greatest good for one also is the highest and greatest good for all, and that no one is harmed. I mean, that is powerful. I'm getting chills even in dropping the question into the universe. I'm getting chills because now that we put the question out there, now that we put the question out there, the solution must find us. Ooh, all right. It's a longer video than expected, but that's my manifesto. Complete liberation of humanity, starting with our mental imprisonment. The ability For each individual to live wholly as themselves without judgment or fear. 3. Eradication of poverty, injustices, and systems of oppression. 4. Restoration of balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and the light and the dark. 5. Elevation of human consciousness to a vibration of love. 6. World peace and harmony. And 7. The highest and greatest good for all, harm to none. That's what I want to manifest. That's what I want us to manifest. I love you.